welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Now, educational gains have been reversed in most sub-Saharan countries due to lockdowns, and the current pace of learning is so slow that it would take an average of 7 years for most school children to learn foundational reading skills that should have been grasped in the first 2 years. Now, how big of an impact has COVID had on our schooling system?
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about this very important and critical topic and situation. So yes, the COVID-19 pandemic has had an incredible impact on education globally, on the African continent, and also more specifically here in South Africa. During the time that schools were closed, so between March 2020 and about June, July 2021, an estimate is that about 750,000 children who should be in school, whether in primary or secondary school, were actually disengaged from school. This is a triple, 3 times as many as we had before in 2019, according to demographic health surveys. So very concerning. This is something that was taken very seriously by the education sector here in South Africa. And we are actually optimistic, cautiously optimistic, of course, that with the measures that have been taken in South Africa, and particularly the fact that from this year, from the beginning of this year, schools are totally open, we hope that those children who were disengaged, out of touch with learning, with schooling, will be back. But that remains something that will be watched and worked on, and we support the departments of basic education and other partners in the education sector to make sure that those children do come back.
Now, you mentioned that the number has tripled to 750,000, and unequal access to education was a potential conflict driver because out-of-school children were some of the most vulnerable and marginalized in the society already. How can this be addressed?
So what we want to do, or what needs to be done, is first and foremost make sure that the children who were enrolled in school and have been disengaged are tracked in a positive way, of course, and brought back. This could mean, for example, if it's a girl child who has fallen pregnant during the time of the lockdown, make sure that she's able to come back to school, that she's supported, that her family is supported with the parenting of the child if there is already a child that's born, and make sure that she's accompanied, most probably with catch-up, schooling, activities, interventions, but also possibly with her mental health, with psychological support. So that's one thing, focus on those children, make sure that we know where they are, bring them back and support them in catching up and in being supported with any psychological, mental related issues that, the dropout may have brought about. Secondly, and this is something that the country, South Africa, is doing, the special circumstances of COVID-19 have meant that the teachers, the schools have been overwhelmed because now, in addition to bringing knowledge to children, they need to pay attention to COVID-19 prevention measures. So additional personnel, additional manpower is needed in the schools so that the schools, the teachers can cope with this additional workload and pressures that's brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. And then another very important dimension, of course, is the resources. Many schools actually are not able to have all the children in school, in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic, the COVID-19 circumstances, the distancing, the sanitizing, the water. These schools need resources that they don't always have. So an important measure and an important thing to be done by the Department of Basic Education, but with partners as well, is to provide resources, is to increase the resources that the schools have and need in order to make sure that they can welcome safely all the children that are both in school and need to come back to school. A last point I wanted to mention, perhaps if we have time, is to say that we need to work not only with the Department of Basic Education and other partners, be them public, private, civil society organization, but also communities, because oftentimes what we have seen, we continue to see, unfortunately, is that the violence that causes some schools to be closed or with less resources than we would want them to have is because of the violence in the community. So we need to also work with communities to make sure that they protect, they own the schools in their communities, and they make sure that children are able to go back under the current circumstances.
Thank you for that, Christine. The pandemic has really set us back, especially as a continent, with regards to our schooling systems. And we truly hope that a lot of the governments will have a lot in place in ensuring that these young people get the education that they need. That was the UNICEF representative for South Africa, Christine Muhigana.